Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome to another episode of the Penalty Box with your host, Kalal Oakman. Tonight we have an action-packed show and a couple new features and new segments for you viewers at home. But before we get into that, there are some things I do want to touch up on. Some things that are happening around the VHL as we speak. Right now, the All-Star Committee is compiling a list, and I'm sure some of you have already found it on the forums, of worthy contenders for All-Star nominations. That's right, the lists are out for each individual position. Center, right wing, and left wing for the Eastern and Western conferences, along with right defense and left defense, and goalies for each conference. Do check it out. Fan balloting is now open. I do believe so. You might want to check the forums and see if you can find that information. Should be sticky on the top page of the VHL. In other news, we have interesting information coming out from both playoff series in the NHL. And without further ado, folks, we're going to go around the rinks to our VHL reporters for the Penalty Box. We're going to start things off with Max Stanley. Max, what do you got? Max Stanley here, VHL television reporting for the Penalty Box from Columbus, Ohio. Columbus Blue Jackets now have a commanding 3-1 lead in the series over the Phoenix Coyotes. And the only reason why is because the Phoenix Coyotes in Game 4 were able to push off elimination by a 3-2 victory in overtime. To summarize Game 3, it was all Columbus all game, pretty much. Phoenix did come out of the gate strong. They took the early lead in the first period, but that's pretty much the only bright spot in the whole game. Game 4 was a little bit of a different story. The Phoenix Coyotes, with their butts against the wall, or their backs against the wall, I should say, facing elimination again. This is nothing new to this team. Were able to put off death, so to speak, in sudden death overtime. They came back and beat the Columbus Blue Jackets 3-2 in overtime. As you can see, the fans in Pittsburgh right now are absolutely ecstatic. These guys are getting ready. They're chomping at the bit. The series is tied 2-2. Tampa Bay answers to Pittsburgh with a 6-1 victory in Game 4, answering Pittsburgh's 6-0 ass-whooping in Game 3. Little side story to this series, folks. Smirky and the MVP, star forwards for the Pittsburgh Penguins, have already played 2 games in this series. They have 1 game of eligibility left, whereas Matt the Cool Cat has also played twice for Tampa Bay. However, one name I haven't mentioned yet, and that's $2 line, the other offensive firepower within the Tampa Bay organization. He's only played 1 game with his line. Now, the question will remain, if this series continues to go back and forth like it is, we'll find out tonight in Game 5. Will $2 play 2 more games, or will they just play 1? And Matt the Cool Cat, will they play the extra 3rd game? Remember, league rules state that all players have to play a minimum of 2 games if it goes to 7 games in the series. Game 7, the extra game, only 1 line gets to play 3. Smirky and the MVP have 1 game left. Matt the Cool Cat has 1 game left. $2 has 2. What do? We'll be covering that story and more. Hey, Gento, if I might, I do understand that State of United was playing in that game tonight for the Pittsburgh Penguins in Game 4, or last night I should say. What exactly happened in that game? Did you get any comments from him or any of the other players from the Penguins? I'm glad you mentioned that, Kalal. In fact, yeah, after the ass-whooping that Tampa Bay handed Pittsburgh, after Pittsburgh flat out, as Teach would say on the radio, pooped on them, 6-0, I was able to stop ST of United, excuse me, I'm sorry for botching your name, ST of United on his way to the locker room after the game. He was quite upset visually, and, well, here was his quote, and I quote, "We got beat by a better team tonight. We had a lot of problems working together as a team, and I did not have my best game. We just got beat." And then he stormed off, slammed the door in my face, and that was the end of that. No other comments were made, and the rest of the team was not able to be reached for further comment. I expect tonight to be a little bit tighter of a matchup The 6-0 and 6-1 is uncharacteristic for both teams. I expect this to get a little bit slowed down in the neutral zone and the defenses to show up tonight. Back to you in the studio. Well, thanks, gentlemen, for that interesting information. Folks, the playoffs are kicking off right now, and they're kicking off strong, both in the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. Also, in the AHL, we do have some information on those two series right now, the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference Finals. We're going to start things off with the West. In the Western Conference Finals, the Grand Rapids Griffins are tied with the Springfield Falcons 2 games apiece. And in the East, it is over. In a shocking upset, the Hershey Bears continue their terror through the Eastern Conference by sweeping the Portland Pirates 4-0. Hershey's now sitting idle, waiting to see what happens in the West for the Calder Cup Finals. Congratulations to the Hershey Bears. We'll be right back after this quick message from our sponsor. Don't go away. Hello, hockey fans. Darth Forsberg, former GM and player of the Toronto Maple Leafs, former owner of the Colorado Avalanche, and current owner and player of the Carolina Hurricanes, talking to you about the new hockey supplement that just hit the ice. Do you suffer from limp wrist shots? Does your shaft break when you attempt a slap shot? Does this happen? I hated that. It gave me nightmares. That's when I found out I suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. The doctors told me that I should try this new hockey supplement called Puck-Agra. It helps fight PTSD, so you can start putting the biscuit back in the basket like this. Scoring goals, putting smiles on fans' faces everywhere. That's right, Puck-Agra. It strengthens those wrist shots, gives you a thicker shaft for slap shots. It fights PTSD. Puck-Agra. I tried it, so should you. Welcome back. And now time for everyone's favorite segment.
2-minute minor!
There's a lot of crap going on in the forums right now. A lot of players upset with their management. Some players upset with how their team ended their playoff run. Well, I'm not going to beat around the bush. It has to do with the Washington situation. Earlier in the season, I reported on this very show that there was things going on in Washington that didn't seem right. There were allegations that were made. Washington management was quick to the gun to quell any bad publicity of their franchise. More power to them. Honest to God, if you're an owner, you don't want negative news. And I'm not trying to be negative here. This is the 2-minute minor. It's a 2-minute minor for this reason. There are no winners in this. Frankly, you got one player, or I should say a handful of players, and a former player, griping. Some may be legitimate, some may not. I'm looking at my stack of notes here. Some may be legitimate allegations, some may not. Fact of the matter is, posting in the public forums is not the right avenue to approach this certain situation. A private message to the BOGs, the VHLPA, or the commissioner himself would have been better. These allegations range from everything from misdealings to controversial trades and releases, stuff like that. I'm not going to go into the bitter details. Quite frankly, who cares? I don't care. Neither do you. The fact of the matter is that there's a serious issue here. The owner of the Washington Capitals was quick to put out his response. His response was quite political, and as a owner, I would say that it was to protect his current team, and I cannot fault him for that. However, like I said, 2 wrongs do not make a right. For those players that are upset, that are complaining and bitching, and for any player that might have any problem in the future in this league, there are tools at your disposal. If you're a manager and you don't agree with what other management or the owner, what they are doing with the franchise, you can go to the BOGs or the commissioner's office, and if you can't get a hold of them, you can contact us here at the Penalty Box, and before we go to air with your story, we will make sure that it is brought to their attention, legal officials' attention, first and foremost. Now, if you're a player and you're worried that you might get traded or treated badly because you're speaking out against the team, well, that might happen if you do what this particular person did and shot his mouth off on the forums. Yes, that's negative. Don't do that. I don't condone that. What you should do is contact your local VHL Players Association rep, the VHLPA. On the forums, it's a place for players to talk to somebody else within the league without fear of being retaliated by management. Management doesn't troll those forums. Management doesn't have access to those forums. You can go in there, air your concerns in the proper channels, and make sure that your point and concern is heard. If you have a serious issue, they will take it up with the league and make sure that the right process is started. An investigation, rules violation, whatever it may be. Use these tools. Don't go shooting your mouth off on the forums and starting a forum war. Honest to God. I mean, I can report on the story. The story is legitimate. It's shocking. It's eye-opening. But frankly, what's the point? It's a gigantic he said, she said. Where one player shoots his fucking mouth off because they lost in Game 7, and then the owner is sitting here neither denying nor confirming the allegations. Quite political, if you ask me. In fact, I don't know if this guy's trying to be an owner of the Washington Capitals or if he's running for a higher office within Washington. His response was, shall we say, quite neutral. I can't fault him for that. I cannot fault him for that. However, it still leads questions that have yet to be answered, and hopefully the right officials within the league will answer those questions through a proper investigation through whatever channels they decide or deem necessary. And that's been your 2-Minute Miner.
2-Minute Miner! VHL owners, ever have a question where you're worried you might get yelled at by the VOGs of the VHL? Oh, not anymore. Dial 1-555-GFY-1111 and ask your question to our operators, who will help you out and let you know if it's worthy enough for the VHL VOGs. Sick and tired of having Haji or Teach tell you that you're an idiot? Don't want to be like Jason Blaze? Dial 1-555-GFY-1111 and ask our operators your questions before going to the VOGs. Operators standing by. 1-555-GFY-1111. 1-555-GF...
Have you ever been injured in a VHL game? Or have someone try to drive a forklift over your bad foot? Then you, my friend, need to call 1-555-WAMBulance. Our lawyers will help you, the VHL players, get the justice you deserve. Goons trying to knock your head off? People trying to run a forklift over your foot? It almost happened to Teach, star defenseman of the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's right. Dial 1-555-WAMBulance, and our lawyers will help you out. Welcome back. But from everybody here at the Penalty Box and our reporters in the field, to you hockey fans sitting at home enjoying this during the holiday season, we'll see you at center ice when the playoff puck drops. Good night.